Ipswich Town are back on the road for one of the longest away trips in the league this season for us, hoping that the Sky curse has well and truly been lifted as we rock up at Exeter. This is the Blue Monday podcast. Hello and welcome to the Blue Monday podcast, discussing Ipswich Town up or down since 2015. I'm Richard Woodward and you're listening to the Prematch show, brought to you in partnership with our friends at the Greyhound Pub in Ipswich. We're available every week on YouTube video and podcast. And tonight we are live, so we want to hear from you in the chat. And joining me, as always, with his chat. And I got us well behind saying the word chat. Seb Brown, how you doing, mate?
Hello, mate. I'm good, thank you. You will be pleased to know there are no height-related statistics this week about the opposition after the debacle that was last week. I saw them line up. I was at Portman Road last Saturday, and I saw the two centre-backs that I had said were 5'7" or 5'8" or something line up next to Ladapo, and I thought, bloody hell, Ladapo's shrunk in the last week or so. And then obviously I checked the stats, and in my defence, the information was correct. You know, the various websites listed them as being, 5'7" and 5'8", but they quite clearly weren't on the day, were they? So I've decided to abandon all height kind of references and statistics from the script. You'd be pleased to know. I heard you guys call me out about it on the Flagship show, so I thought I'd better get my right of reply in there.
Yeah, I was going to say you need to explain to people what you're referring to. I mean, you did say two of them were short, didn't you? You didn't say all of them. Freestone definitely wasn't, but yeah, we won't be going near heights tonight, put it that way, folks. Good to see a lot of you in the chat. We want to hear from you, as we said, evening or morning to Michael in Brisbane. This is better a 6 a.m. pod. Might need to help us with the Aussie translation there, Michael. Charlie D, good to have you with us. Lee as well. We are talking cricket there. I'll leave that for you guys. Evening, Gary and Paul. Evening, fellow sufferers. Yeah, wow. We'll talk about that. It's been a bit of a tricky few weeks for Ipswich, hasn't it? Evening to James. Knackering week at work. Chill out with the pod on. And bedtime already. Wow. Are you going tomorrow, James? Is it an early night ahead of a stupid o'clock alarm call? Let us know. But yeah, I think what I was going to say, someone once said, I love the podcast. It's great. Really good at helping me get off to sleep at night.
Brilliant.
Probably listening to us talk about stats from player heights, isn't it? So
yeah.
Sleep well, James. Tuck yourself in. Alan's deep bath. Charlie D, anyone else full of World Cup apathy? Big time. Seb's been big on the World Cup stuff this week. Talk us to
I'm starting to get into it. Yeah, I've started to get that urge.
Beginning to feel a lot like...
Have you seen they've released 3 lines today with a line about Christmas in it again, saying... Do you? Oh, I hate that. I think it's rubbish. Oh, no, I can't stand that. But no, I have my drive to work in the morning. I've kind of made myself an England playlist with 3 Lions and World in Motion and Vindaloo and Ant and Dec were on the ball. So I am starting to get a little bit into it now. I've booked Monday off work to watch the England game. And yeah.
The whole day?
Yeah, the whole day.
Well, it kicks off at 1.
I work quite a way away though, so there's no point me going and then coming home again on a half day type thing. So I've got no choice. But yeah, I'm starting to get into it a little bit now. I dabbled with the idea of getting myself an England shirt in the week, and then I saw how much they were charging for it, so I very quickly decided not to do that. But yeah, I recorded a little piece, didn't I, for Fans Bet about I was given a position to choose. I had to say who was England's sort of first choice central defender should be in the tournament. So I said John Stones. So feel free to go and check that out. But I am starting to get a little bit into it.
Can give us your thoughts on John Stones in the chat. I think someone else tweeted about it. Do you see the tweeted response you got about that opinion? No,
I've not been on Twitter. I keep assuming that at some point today, Twitter will just end, given all the hashtags and all the news. So I've kind of not really been on it in the expectation that I'll try and load it and it will just say, this app no longer exists. So I've not been on it. I'll have a look after the live show.
Me and Chris agreeing on the 3 lines. Yeah, I like it. I do.
Okay, fair enough.
It's good. Podcasts in the background as you sleep is the one. Yeah, so I would do my best to do my ASMR voice, isn't it? That's
Graham Torrington's late night love.
Not like that. We'll have got a bit of an Exeter loving to come. What about that's a quality segue from me. All guns blazing here. Right, let's do some business, shall we? Let's talk ITFC women. They are on the road as well. It's a double header down in the southwest. I feel really sorry for them. Because I think we've sold out our away allocation extra, haven't we, at Exeter? So it's not as if there's not many people hanging around, but I think a 3 o'clock game is a very different equation for people to justify sticking around than a 12:30. So they are at home park against Plymouth. They're playing in the stadium on Sunday. Off the back of starting their FA Cup run, Seb, we remember
7-0, wasn't it? They absolutely battered them 7-0.
7-0.
And the great takeaway from that game, isn't it? Sophie Peskett making her return. It was something like 400 days she was out for, wasn't it? That's such a huge boost. Obviously, you go and see them way more than I do. So what's your thoughts on that one? That must be a massive, massive boost to the squad.
Yeah, her nickname is Star Girl, so that should tell you everything you need to know about her qualities. And immediately within 4 minutes of being introduced as a sub, she's got an assist for Abby Lafayette, friend of the Blue Monday podcast, sponsored Abby Lafayette, I always have to say. So brilliant news that she's returned and being eased into action. She'll obviously be available, I think, for Sunday's match as well. So we wish her well on her recovery. It was great to chat to Blue Wilson last week at the live event as well. And she's looking to step her recovery up in the new year as well. So yeah, it's looking really positive. London Seaward, as in, look, see over there, see, let's go Seaward. I didn't really explain that particularly well, did I? They are from the tier below and they are the opponents at the AGL next Sunday. So ITFC women play FA Cup at 1 p.m. on Sunday. And then the men
straight from there to Portman Road.
Yeah. So I will be driving down the A14, 70 miles an hour and no more to make sure I can get to both games. So and
Plymouth is a game we should be looking to win. They're kind of in the relegations, aren't they? Second bottom, I think. Is this a game that should be fairly straightforward for them?
We never say straightforward, but the form guide suggests that we should be favourites. Yeah, Plymouth have got a bit of they've won 2, lost 4 of their league games at home. So yeah, it's one where I would have us as the favourites, but we still have to turn up. But the squad is getting stronger.
Yeah,
Lucy O'Brien, obviously sponsored by the pod as well, is getting back to fitness as well. So suddenly, from being quite depleted at the start of the season, we're looking pretty good. So fingers crossed for the women's team. All the best with the long travel down there, and everyone who's going as well. I know a lot of the usual suspects are traveling down there for that, so we wish them all the best as well. And we'll check back in and see how they go on Sunday night on the Flagship. We've got a question from Lee. Just let me do that. The hashtag defeat was in the FA Women's League Cup. So essentially, it's kind of a cross between the EFL Trophy and the Carabao Cup for the men. And in terms of priorities for the teams, it's a distant third behind the FA Cup and then the league where we obviously want to get promoted. So disappointing defeat. And Joe said as much at the live event, didn't he, that it wasn't a good performance, a good representation of what the team are about. And he was very adamant that they were going to bounce back at Luton, and they very much did with a 7-0 win. So we wish them well for Sunday, and we wish them all the best for the FA Cup and hopefully another adventure which culminates in WSL opposition at some point in the future. Let's move on, shall we, Seb, and talk about Saturday's action at Exeter. Remind us, well, not remind us, because it's not as if we've said it yet. Tell us where Exeter find themselves in League One.
And they're at the early start for all those poor people getting the coaches. I dread to think what time the coaches are going to be leaving Portman Road tomorrow morning. It must be like a 4 a.m. departure or something crazy. So if you're going, we really, really do salute you. Fair play.
Yeah, we do. And I'm going to actually salute you right now.
Yeah.
263 miles, according to Google Maps, is the most efficient route. And that's from Portman Road. Okay. And it reckons 4 and a bit hours. But yeah, you'd want to be leaving. I guess they'll be leaving at 3.
No idea. No idea. But fair
similar
play
time to Plymouth, isn't it? I mean,
it's the same, isn't it? So fair play. They must be. David,
David's back
star.
at it. Love this, David. You're so generous.
You are.
We're going to say stop it, you. But thank you very much. We very much appreciate the support. And worth noting that live events like last week happen because of the support that you guys provide us. So, David, thank you very much for, as always, your generosity. AD saying 3:45 a.m.
Fair play.
We salute you again, everyone.
Absolutely, yeah.
AD, let us know if you're on the coach or traveling down for that one. That is hardcore.
Yeah, fair play to you. So Exeter, as we stand at the moment, currently sitting 9th in the league with 25 points, played 18, won 7, drawn 4, lost 7, scored 31 goals. So we will discuss their goal scoring prowess and conceded 27. Of the last 6 games, it's kind of been a bit of a mixed bag of form. They've won 2, drawn 1, and lost 3, so kind of a bit of indifferent run recently. Their home form, however, is pretty decent. They've taken 16 points from 9 games, which I think is only a couple less than we've taken, isn't it? I know we've dropped points recently with the likes of Cheltenham last weekend and stuff, but their home form is pretty good. Their last 6 home games at home, won 3, drawn 1, and lost 2, but they have won their last 2 games. We'll discuss who they played last week. They have won their last 2 games. And then obviously they've played, well, Peterborough was the one last week, the 3-2 defeat. They've got us on Saturday. They're in a bit of a sticky run. Then they've got Sheffield Wednesday, Bolton away, Pompey, and Barnsley all at St James's Park. So this is definitely their tricky run of the season, I would suggest.
Yeah, definitely. Wow, harsh. And played Derby, as I think you mentioned.
Yeah, that was the new manager's first game was a 0-0 against Derby. Yeah, so it's it's a real kind of sticky run of form. Sorry, a real sticky run of fixtures for them at the moment. But they are coming through it, to be fair, aren't they? You know, they're a good side. I think they've probably got a lot of fans amongst, you know, sort of neutrals. Is that fair to say? You know, for what they're doing. You know, we sometimes see sides come up, and we've seen a bit with Cheltenham last weekend. You know, you get those kind of sides that will look to have a low block and frustrate teams, but they seem to have come up, and they're, you know, considering and continuing the goal scoring prowess they displayed last season. And I'm a bit of a fan of this. To be honest, I like the way they do things.
So is David Earl, excellent podcast with Kings of Anglia. If you're a fan of Afterlife, and I think he's in Extras as well, isn't he? It's weird because he's now got in Afterlife, he's got that big bushy beard, but in Extras, he was the one who do the catchphrase, the hair, the glasses, the catchphrase, brilliant. That's him, by the way, but in lots of other things as well. So spoke to Stu Watson, I think, and the guys at KOA, so worth a look there. But as you say, I think it's been an upwardly mobile team for quite some time. We'll talk about our record against them, but I seem to recall even when we were losing to them in the EFL Trophy, I think they were quite ambitious at that point, and it was quite a positive result. But they've been kind of knocking on the door for quite a while, and then last season said automatic promotion.
It was, yeah. They finished joint top with Cheltenham on 84 points, but we lost out on goal difference. I think it was like a goal difference of 6 or 7. There wasn't much in it at all. So that secured them second place and back up to League One. Matt Taylor was in charge for the campaign. He's obviously since moved on in the last few weeks to join Rotherham, and we'll come on to who's replaced him shortly. Matt Jay was the top scorer last year with 14 goals. And yeah, you know, it's like you said, an upwardly mobile club that was looking to get back up to League One. They've done that, and they've just carried on with that. Sometimes in football, momentum is so crucial, isn't it? We've seen it in the past. You know, how many times did we see clubs like Southampton, dare I say it, Norwich, Sheffield United? You had clubs that went up to the Championship, and that momentum kind of carried them through. I'm not saying they're going to go up promotion-wise this season, but momentum can play such a huge role in football clubs, can't it? You can breed confidence, breed winning runs, and that's, I think, what we're seeing from them in this first third of the season.
We take a very brief advert break, if we may. In fact, can I put any music on to help us here? Let's try that. Can you hear that? Yeah.
Confused.
Question from Michael and a question from David. Where do you get your sign from, Seb?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I can't do it. It's from the house in town, down near the waterfront in Ipswich. They've got a website. There's a few signs on there. I got the Portman Road IP1. I think the Greyhound had them in the pods, don't they? Yeah, they're in there. So yeah, brilliant sign. I think it was £40 if I remember rightly, and then I got a family member to go and collect it. But yeah, great quality. They've got some Ed Sheeran ones with the Divide Tour logos. Highly recommend it. Loads of great stuff down there. Really friendly guys that run that place. So yeah, the house in town, down near the waterfront. An excellent place.
Head to the house in town and get your sign now. There you go. I'm just dicking about with the fact that I can play music now. Anyway, back to it. Let's talk about our recent record there, Seb, because it's not good, is it?
No, we played them twice in the not too distant past. So obviously we discussed it, the one where we lost 2-1 in the EFL Trophy in the first year we played back down. So you're getting more and more like Graham Torrance's Late Night Love now. Lee's starting to feel it. So yeah, we lost 2-1. Lee Martin scored a 93rd minute winner for Exeter. I think Will King equalised for us, but they scored right on the death in the quarter-final stage, I want to say.
We took it seriously as well. We played the kids up to that point, and then we played pretty much a full strength team, I think.
Well, it was in that rubbish. We were in that really poor run, weren't we? Do you remember we went to Rochdale away and we won on fireworks night, and then we just didn't win for like 2 months, and Lambert gets his new 5-year deal. So I guess Lambert was trying to get some sort of result out there, but we lost that one. And the other one, the notorious one, was right at the start of the new era in 2018. We played them in a League Cup tie. Caden Jackson scored. One of the guys put some footage of it in the Telegram group earlier. Caden Jackson scores, but we lose on penalties after a 1-1 draw, and Paul Hurst throws absolutely everybody under the bus in his third game, I think it was. I know we played Blackburn and Rotherham first, and I think it was the third game of his tenure, and he threw them all under the bus, didn't he? And I guess we all kind of thought, well, you can only do that once, so what's your next move going to be, Paul? And yeah, it was not a good night or a good time. So our recent record there isn't great. I do remember a third game as well. We played. Do you remember the League Cup run culminating in Arsenal in Roy Keane's second season? I think one of the first games, one of the early rounds of that competition, we won 3-2. I think David Norris got a couple. That must be 10, 12 years ago now. But the most recent couple, a couple of defeats recently and not great performances either, I'm afraid.
And our overall record was a weird one. I looked it up because I didn't expect us to have too many games. There was kind of a period where we played them in the League Cup every kind of 6 to 7 years, and then obviously the EFL Trophy into the mix as well. But we've played them about nearly 30 times in our history, and our record is we've got 11 wins to their 8. So it's not as if historically we've had the upper hand on them. We used to play them quite a lot in the Division 3 South back in the 40s and 50s, if you can believe that. And the standout win that I could find was in the League Cup. Shock. We beat them 5-1 at Portman Road when they were 2-legged. I think it was 1-1
those days.
1-1 at their place, and then 5-1 in the return leg. So if you can remember that and any of the goal scorers, then let us know in the comments. I suspect possibly not. Talk to us about this Peterborough game. We mentioned it briefly. A defeat. Well, they won, didn't they, last time out? Dramatic game, bit back and forth. Tell us about it.
Yeah, showed some character as well. It was a 3-2 win at St James's Park to Peterborough. They were 1-0 up, 2-1 down, 1-0 up from a corner. We'll come on to their set piece threat shortly. But Peterborough score a couple of goals, and it looks like it should be heading to a Peterborough victory. They equalised quite late on. I think it was the 86th minute. And then in the 90th minute, they go very kind of route one. I think it was the 91st minute. Route one from the keeper. Not great defending by Posh. And Giovanni Brown is through, and a lovely finish, kind of looks edge of the area, opens up his body, and curls it home in the 91st minute to send them all crazy. And it shows a bit of character to come back, because you would think 2-1 down, 4 minutes to go against one of the so-called big boys in the league, you'd be expecting to not to come back in that one. But they showed some character. They have a massive goal threat, as we'll come on to, and it's a cracking result for them.
Evening to Sully, or morning or afternoon to Sully. We will keep an eye on Portsmouth Derby for you guys. I think it's only just started. Still 0-0 as far as I can tell, but do feel free to put that in the chat. That game's possibly fortunate.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, the stats were 43% possession. This is Exeter stats. 43% possession, only 5 shots. Peterborough had 16. 4 shots on target for Exeter and 7 on target for Peterborough. Big chances, only 1 for Exeter, scored 3 goals, but only 1 big chance, and they missed that chance. So the stats do suggest that it was maybe a little bit fortunate. But when you've got their front three and their goal scoring ability and the kind of the players in behind, it's they're always going to have a chance. We need to be wary of it tomorrow.
Yeah, and the goals have been spread out as well. There's the kind of goal that I hate us conceding, where Dieng glances in a header at the near post, and that's Giovanni Brown who gets the assist. We'll talk about him. Nonme comes off the bench. It's Jay who starts the game, and they're trying to get Jay to rekindle this form from last season, but it's really not happened yet for him. I don't know if there's some injuries at play there, but he's not scored yet, as far as I'm aware, and
he's only made like 4 starts, hasn't he? Yeah, there must be an injury behind it or something. There must be a reason why, because he was the 14-goal top scorer last season, and he's just not got going at all this year. But also they've brought in Jay Stansfield, other players will come on to, who are kind of fulfilling that mantle, thankfully.
And you mentioned the curling finish from Giovanni Brown. I mean, we need to mention, and we've talked about this before in the predictions element of the show, Peterborough's dysfunction defending. There is bouncing balls that aren't attacked by the defenders. There's even for the equaliser, Nombe's equaliser is a bit of a catalogue of errors, because there's a deep cross that's not defended in the first place, a header back across goal that's also unmarked, and then the ball bounces between the goalkeeper, about 3 defenders, and then eventually Nombe has about 3 attempts and just lashes it in from close range. So Peterborough kind of complicit here, but no questions about the finish for Brown in the 91st minute. Lovely goal, wasn't it, from the edge of the box? So
really nice.
Yeah, all different types of goals, but we'll talk about the threat from set pieces in a bit. Talk us about the manager recently. Change there.
Brand new, so we know Matty Taylor went off to Rotherham. Obviously, Mark Bonner was the favourite. He turned the job down, and then Taylor ended up going there. So they appointed Gary Caldwell. football manager, championship manager players from kind of the early 2000s. Probably I used to always sign him when he was, I think he was somewhere in Celtic or something. I always used to get him as a relatively cheap, decent centre back. He's only been there for 3 league games. He's won one, the one last week against Peterborough. He drew 0-0 at Derby, and they lost. They got battered 4-2 in the. Is that a derby for them? Plymouth Exeter. I'm guessing it is a
little bit.
Devon derby. Yeah,
that went back and forth as well. I mean, that
it did. Yeah, it was 2-2 till quite relatively late on, I think, wasn't it? And then a couple of goals. Yeah, a couple of goals.
Long range goals in that one. A lot of difficulties defending long range shots, which, as I bitched about in the Flagship show, is something we're not really doing at the moment. So
yeah.
Anyway.
And then they had a 3-2 win over Port Vale in the Cup as well. So he's managed 4 games in total, 2 wins in all competitions, 1 draw, 1 defeat. He's best known for his time at Celtic and Wigan, 55 Scotland caps. So he comes from a pretty decent, pedigree. And he's had managerial spells at Wigan, Chesterfield, and Partick Thistle as well. So he's been around a little bit. And yeah, like I say, he's only been in charge for 3 league games so far. So it's a bit of an unknown still at this point. But I guess he's just looking to carry on the great work that Taylor kind of set in place. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
I was a bit surprised by that appointment. I wasn't really aware that Gary Caldwell was, when he went in at Wigan, I think he was probably quite harshly sacked, and a lot of people have been harshly sacked at Wigan in the last few years, haven't they? It just surprised me that he was a name that was mentioned and linked with that job. I mean, no criticism of him. I'm sure he's got a decent record in Scotland, I'm sure, but a bit of a strange one, isn't it? But I don't really know the kind of market that Exeter are shopping in, but Matt Taylor's obviously Matty. Is it Matty? Are we going with
I think it's Matty Taylor. Yeah, I think it is Matty Taylor. Yeah,
for very familiar. But whether he feels that mould is to be seen, I guess. But so far, relatively okay, isn't it? So far, so we'll wait and see. Talk to us about the way that he tries to play, Seb, and then let's start attacking some of these key players for us to be watching out for.
Yeah, so in the league, he's had the same formation throughout. It's been a 3-4-1-2, so a number 10 kind of playing behind the front 2, but it is very fluid. Those front 3 will change around in game quite a lot. So at one point, you'll have 1 through the middle and 2 out wide. At some point, you'll have a 10 behind the 2, and they'll just look to mix it up all throughout the 90 minutes. Giovanni Brown is one of the main names. We've discussed him already, the goal scorer, the winning goal scorer last week against Peterborough. He's their top scorer so far with 9 in 17 league appearances. He's also got 8 assists. That's really impressive, isn't it? 17
taking the corners.
Yeah. 8 assists, 9 goals. Plays as the 10 at the moment. He kind of drops in, but like I say, the heat map, he will drift out to the right, and then somebody else will drop a little bit in, and Stansfield will go through the middle, and they will just look to mix it up all throughout the 90 minutes. Matt Jay did start last week. He's the guy from last year, the 14-goal top scorer from last season. They're kind of trying to get him back to sort of a decent run of form. Sam Nombe got the equaliser in the 86th minute last week. He's got 8 goals so far this season. Also got 5 assists. And they've got Jay Stansfield, which is a lovely story. It sounds like from the McKenna pre-match today, we were quite close to signing him in the summer. Wow, I think. Okay. I think we went for Tyrese John Jules instead. I think we got pretty far down the line with that one. Apparently, we all know the story of his dad, obviously Exeter, Adam Stansfield, and Jay Stansfield has gone there, same squad number, and it's a great story, isn't it? He's got 4 goals so far this season and 4 assists as well. So that's a really, really lovely story. And those front 3 are absolutely crucial to the way they play, and they are a huge threat, aren't they?
Yeah, and Stansfield won EFL Player of the Month. That's not League One Player of the Month. That's EFL, player of the Month for the whole of the EFL. So definitely a player on form. Definitely a player with creativity. Can dribble. Can shoot. Can create as well. So and yeah, great story there. And that number 9 shirt and following in his father's footsteps.
Yeah, so, it's a lovely story. I remember when he scored when he first scored his first goal. The reaction to it on social media was absolutely brilliant. You just love to see that kind of stuff, don't you?
We do, yeah. And as you mentioned, that front 3 can be quite fluid.
It will change, yeah. Stansfield will naturally drop out left a little bit as well and look to take people on, and it will be changing all throughout the 90 minutes. And yeah, it's a real big threat, and we'll have to be really on it against those 3 because they all pose a slightly different threat, and they're all so well oiled and so interchangeable that if you switch off for any time at all, they're going to be right on you.
And there's kind of fluidity, or there's definitely forward momentum throughout the pitch, isn't there? Talk to us about midfield and the wing backs.
Archie Collins, he's a player I like. He's a central midfield player. He will pop up everywhere. His heat map is comparable to 2019-20 Alan Judge or 2022-2023 Barry Bannon. He's everywhere on the pitch. He will look to try and make them tick. He's got a decent long range shot on him as well, and he'll be on looking to pick up the ball and really get them going. He averages 57 touches per game, so he'll be involved everywhere, all over the pitch throughout the 90 minutes and look to really get them going. And they've got these two fullbacks. They will look to really push on. When you look at the heat maps again, they will be right down the touchline advanced. They've got Jack Sparks, the left wing back, and then it'll be either should be Josh Key or Jake Caprice, the right wing back. 48% of their attacks come down that right hand side, and that's when Giovanni Brown will naturally drift out as well and link up whoever's playing the right wing back role, and it's a big threat.
And then we mentioned Dieng. He brings some physical presence from midfield, can play centre back, I think you were saying as well. 2 goals as well.
Scored from the corner last week. Yeah, big unit. He can play either sort of the kind of enforcer in midfield alongside Archie Collins, allowing him to sort of drift everywhere all over the pitch, or he can slot in at centre back as well, and he'll provide a real physical threat from corners. They are very good at set pieces. We're going to have to be switched on for that one.
Had a familiar name in goal.
A player you like, yeah, Jamal Blackman. So he was always he was a perennial Chelsea loanee, wasn't he? How many? You did some research on it. 8 loan spells. There you go. At various different levels at the Championship, League One, teams in Sweden, teams in Holland. One of those players that Chelsea sign probably never ever makes an appearance for their first team and just gets loaned out year after year until he eventually gets released. But he's there now as a 29-year-old. They've signed him permanently, haven't they? He's not a loan anymore. They've signed him permanently, and I guess good for him that he's got a bit of a home now. He can kind of look to make a game for himself. Because it must be so difficult. The likes of him and Garbutt and Pennington, those players that just year after year get pushed out somewhere else. It must be difficult getting into any kind of sort of rhythm and stuff. So happy for him. He can finally make a home, and hopefully he'll have a decent season, but not on Saturday. And
he's 29. I'm pretty certain this might be up there with your centre back height research, Seb, but I'm pretty certain he's 29. And you kind of think, well, but man, it's a good age for a goalkeeper. Obviously, keepers peak a little bit later than outfield players, but
yeah,
big chunk of his career spent on loan, as you said. No kind of from the human dynamic, no place to call home really. And
yeah,
so it was on loan at Rotherham, I think, a couple of seasons ago as well. So knows this level, decent enough keeper. And do you want to talk about player of the season, Raheem Harper?
Player of the season, Raheem Harper. Obviously, he can't play tomorrow as part of the loan agreement, but I thought I'd have a look and see how he's getting on. He's only made 7 starts so far this year, no goals, no assists, I'm afraid. He's not been used. He's an unused sub in all of Caldwell's first 3 games in charge in the league. So I'm not sure how much he's going to get much action in the next kind of few weeks before the window opens. Is it one maybe we look to recall and send elsewhere? I don't know. Hopefully at some point for him it will kick on, because he must be 22, 23, I think he is now. And I guess we all kind of hoped he'd go out because the Crew loan last year didn't really go how we thought it would. He had the nightmare in the League Cup against Collier with the back pass assist, didn't he? And now again, he's just kind of, if he's sitting on the bench not getting game time, it's a bit of a wasted year again. So hopefully for him, either he'll get a run. However, I would say Archie Collins and Timothy Dieng are kind of going to have those central midfield positions sewn up. We know he can play as a number 10, but again, they are very well stocked in that position. So I'm not entirely sure what he can do at this point, to be honest.
Yeah, interesting to see how the rest of his season pans out. We'll be back after this.
Innovation Labs is business hub and co-working space with strategic locations across Suffolk. Our aim is to foster innovation, entrepreneurship, business growth, and the development of an AI centre of excellence in Suffolk. Monthly hot desks are available from just £79. For more info, head to innovationlabsgroup.com or contact info@innovationlabsgroup.com. Innovation Labs, providing support for businesses across Suffolk. Locations in Stowmarket, Ipswich, Sudbury, Woodbridge, with more to follow.
This is my favourite bit now where we go a bit nerdy, so apologies.
This is the bit you love, isn't it? This is the bit I kind of do some groundwork in the week and I pass it over to you, and you turn my basic numbers into some proper statistical, well thought out analysis. So
I polish your turd for you.
That's so weird.
Moving it on. I sprinkle glitter on. No. So I'd like to split the stats by high performing stats and low performing stats. We mentioned the goals for at home, 5th best in the league. You've mentioned the proportion of goals that they've scored at home from set pieces, which is 30% 5 of those goals, 2nd highest in the league. They're also not too many teams have got many penalty goals at this point, but they are joint first on penalties scored at home. only failed to score at home in 2 games, and ironically, those were in defeats to Cheltenham and Burton. Not that they've had the top echelon teams in the division at St James Park yet, but that run of games has come, and they obviously conceded twice against Peterborough, then went on to win. A large proportion of goals headed, joint third on headed goals, but there are 7 other teams who've got the same number of goals. So again, not a huge differentiator there, but I think the threat for the creativity for goals is crosses, whether they be crosses or corners. They are second in the league for cross assists at home, and first for corner assists, 3 goals from corners. So the threat from out wide is significant. We've talked about dribbling as well through Stansfield. They've got the 3rd highest amount of dribbles per home game in League One as well. So clear that the threat is going to be down the side, crosses in, set pieces in, and Peterborough know that to their cost as well. In terms of low performing, they are massively outscoring compared to their expected goals. It's something that we've talked about in respect to Plymouth, but in terms of the XG league, which I know a lot of people are going to be tutting at me for even mentioning it, but they are 14th in respect of their home expected goals. So there's they're outperforming 9 positions in terms of the number of goals they've scored in the league so far from that position. So suggests that the quality of the chances created is low quality, or it's likely that the set piece is a factor in that as well. So set piece is obviously statistically a very low quality XG goal. Clean sheets, we mentioned Jamal Blackman, but he's only got 2 clean sheets at home and 13 goals against at home as well, is the 18th best in the league. So in terms of shipping goals, they're probably a little bit open, and that's why you see 3-2 matches and all that kind of stuff. They're not particularly, don't get stuck in, Seb. 23rd for tackles at home. Average about 12 tackles a game, which isn't great, but as a consequence of that, they don't give away many fouls, and their disciplinary record's pretty good. No red cards yet, and only 13 yellows at home. They do get offside quite a lot, which doesn't necessarily surprise me, because I think they try to spring long balls. They're quite direct from time, so that doesn't necessarily surprise me. You've got pacey forwards trying to get in, so they are the third highest offside. How do I word this?
The third most caught offside team in the league.
Sure.
I think is the way to put it.
And in terms of the style of play, I think it's a combination. They're certainly not a possession team. You mentioned the low possession stats, but accurate long balls, they are 20th for accurate long balls, and inaccurate long balls, they are 3rd. So they try long balls, they're not particularly good at them. So the threat will be direct balls into the strikers and attacking down the wings. But hopefully some insights there. Any conclusions you want to draw from that, Seb?
Well, one thing I noticed, one of the ones that I dug at as well, they're not kind of what you'd consider to be pass masters at all. They only average 1.6 instances of 10 or more passing sequences per 90 minutes. Yeah, so to put that in perspective, we average 8.9 per match. So that's a passing movement of 10 plus passes. They just simply don't look to do it. So like you said, the threat's going to be coming in from crosses, from long balls. The winner against Peterborough, albeit later on in the game where you naturally start to go longer to try and get something out of it, was a long ball down the channel from the keeper. So yeah, it's something we need to look out for. I think something like the average 77 kind of long balls per 90 at home. So it's something we're going to have to deal with. Something we're going to look out for. That and set pieces. They're not a Wickham, I don't think, to that level, but they will look to go long, kind of mix it up.
Stop the cross is my mantra for tomorrow or Saturday, depending on when you're listening to it. That's my mantra, as well as stop Nombe, Stansfield, and Brown.
And Collins. Yeah.
Should we talk about us? Because there's quite a lot of stuff in the chat about us. Do get your thoughts in. We can see you in the chat. I know that there's a lot of chat about where people live, which is fantastic. So get to know each other, which is lovely in the chat. Some thoughts on Dynasty. So shall we start there, Seb? Let me find the comment and who posted that first from Charlie D. Will JD be playing?
Well, it's a late call, isn't it? McKenna's come out and said, so the good news is even if he doesn't make it tomorrow, it's not another one to add to our long-term kind of list. I guess they'll make a decision on it in the morning. I think they said that he'd only just barely come back training, I think maybe yesterday or today. So
Come on, use your favourite phrase. You got to use your favourite phrase, Seb.
My favourite phrase? What's my favourite phrase?
He's on the grass.
Oh, on the grass, yeah, okay, yeah, back
Come
on
on.
the grass, like we heard so many times from managers in the past, and then never saw that player play ever again. Yeah, no, I assume KVY will be the natural replacement. You know, I know we still debate. We're having the debate in the Telegram group earlier. Are we a back three? Are we a back four? I guess Danassian's position is kind of, you know, where he's going to play is totally dependent on where Burns is going to play in front of him. But KVY is the natural person to come and slot in, isn't he? You know, he came on for him last week against Cheltenham. Had a good chance, didn't he? Had that shot at the near post, the keeper kind of beat away. Played well against Bracknell. Okay, fair enough, it's Bracknell, but played well against Bracknell in the FA Cup. So I'd have no real issue if he has to come in for Danassian. And I think that will be Danassian's first miss, not starting him under McKenna. I think he started every single game so far, and that'll be that record will end if he doesn't make it. But we'll have to see it at 2:00 tomorrow, I guess.
Yeah, lots of other question marks, aren't there? And there's chat, not in the way that I'm going to address this, so I don't want to put a comment up and misrepresent someone. I've got in trouble for doing that in the past. Christian Walton, I mean, I love him, big fan. But statistically, I'm just asking the question, mate. I'm just hosting the podcast.
What is it with you and keepers? Why do you hate all goalkeepers?
So let me play it out here.
I'm winding you up.
Calm yourself down.
I'm just winding you up.
Saying, if from a statistical perspective, the goals that we've conceded of late, I think could be attributed to goalkeeping mistakes, right?
Absolutely, What, 3 of them against Charlton, without question? Certainly 2, possibly 3. The one last week, goes through, mistake, but there's no way in hell I'd drop him.
No, of course not. Of course not. I'm asking the question. Just make
not a chance.
We do a thorough job here on the pre-match show, so I want to make sure we cover all the bases. You know,
I think Claggy knows.
You don't do it, Sky will. So
I think Claggy knows he is the cup goalkeeper, the reserve goalkeeper. And let's not forget, Claggy at the start of last season wasn't great at all. I know he came in for that one game against Wickham in McKenna's first game in charge and did okay, but no, not for me. I understand he's made errors, and he is culpable for probably 4 of our last 5 goals we've conceded. But how many points has he saved us? How many times has he come and claimed a ball when we're under pressure in the 90th minute from a corner or a long ball? And not for me. You should, without a shadow of a doubt. And even if you made a Rickett tomorrow, I'd probably, no, you wouldn't start him against Buxton, but I'd probably still start him against Fleetwood the next week. He deserves that, I think.
Paul, let us know if you're going to the Grand Prix. And hello to our friends in Abu Dhabi. There we go. Who gets in? Have we talked about Kamara yet?
Yeah, I mean, I assume he must be earmarked to make a start against Pompey on Tuesday night, isn't it? In the last 32, last 60, I don't know what it is, whatever it is in the Pizza Cup. Look at your shrugging shoulders.
The next round.
The next round of the Peterborough Cup, of the Pizza Cup. I assume he must be earmarked to start that or the Buxton game. So I guess he'll still be on the bench, and we'll still kind of maybe see him get drip fed 15, 20 minutes. Spot on, Skip.
Who's mummy and dad? I see mum and daddy, right?
That weird can of worms.
Everyone wants to know. Everyone's thinking it.
The Joey and Chandler, the Bert and Ernie of the Blue Monday podcast. Who is who? Kamara for me will be on the bench as the central midfield kind of. Well, he's the only backup option. I'd have Humphreys and Morsey starting again in central midfield. I know Humphreys maybe missed the interception for their goal last weekend and maybe should have scored.
He wasn't
but for me,
mistake,
for me, fine. I've got no issue with him starting alongside Morsey at all. And then Kamara, if needed, can get a few more minutes under his belt with a look to either start against Pompey or against Buxton next weekend and really get some minutes into. And I'm really excited to see him when he's fully up to speed, because he's a player that last year was phenomenal, wasn't he? And what a crucial role he might play in the second half of the season. His ability to move with the ball up the pitch and get us advanced quickly, and his stamina and his fitness levels are superb. So he could be a really, really useful weapon. And we've got players coming back as well, haven't we? We've got the likes of Lee and Hadmi back in training. They're not going to be involved tomorrow, I wouldn't have thought, but good that we are now starting to see some of these guys getting back. Yeah,
Michael's talking about Greg Lee here. Mentioned that he'll be back in training next week, we think. And
I presume Buxton must be. Yeah, Buxton maybe penciled in. Hadmi can't play in the Pizza Cup, can he? So he can't figure in that one. But so I assume he'll might get a start or 45 minutes against Buxton in the FA Cup. And then Greg Lee hopefully will be back pretty soon, because bringing him on, like Michael said, bringing him on to see out the last kind of 20 minutes of games when Leif Davis is spent has proved such a useful weapon.
Michael advocating a start for Edwards. I kind of think he's earned it.
He deserves it. Yeah, I thought again when he came on last weekend, he was positive. He put that ball in, didn't he? Was it Ladapo's header? I think quite late on, or the one where Kamara just couldn't get on the end of it. So yeah, I'd have him start. I would have Jackson start as well. I think it's an away game, so it's when they kiss and make. I think Jackson will come in personally as one of the kind of the wider players. So I wouldn't be surprised to see kind of a Burns Edwards and my mind's gone completely blank. Jackson, 3 behind Ladapo. I think Harness and Chaplin are just quite out of form at the moment, aren't they? And it's always a problem when they're both out of form at the same time. You can kind of carry one, but I'm not sure you can carry them both.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if one of them continues, actually.
Okay. But away game, he normally favours Jackson in the away games, and they will look to attack us given their kind of record at home and their goal scoring threat. So it could be an ideal game for someone like Jackson with his pace to really kind of hit them on the counter.
But does Jackson come in for Ladapo in that instance then, rather than playing in a number 10? I'm not sure he's played in a number 10. He's played wide right.
No, I'd put him out wide
instead of Burns.
No, I'd have Burns right, Jackson left, and Edwards can play as a 10. He's played as a 10 before this season, hasn't he? That's what I would do personally. Okay. He's kind of played that role before, so I'd look to do something like that. Because I just think at the moment, John Jules obviously isn't involved, and I think that Chaplin and Harness are just, they're always looking to make something happen when they're on the pitch, but they're both out of form at the wrong kind of time. I think they just need, once they get a goal, they'll be fine. But I'd like to see them maybe look to rebuild their confidence starting against I keep saying Peterborough in the Peterborough Cup, against Portsmouth in the Pizza Cup, and against Buxton next weekend maybe.
Paul here. Fun fact: Stiles Brand was in charge of my kids' youth club out here. I'm in Abu Dhabi. I keep my 2001 kit and a marker pen in my car in case I bump into him. I'm sure we could have a chat with Milts and sort that out when Titus does stuff for Future Stars, doesn't he? But hey ho. But yes, Titus Bramble would be a good podcast interview, wouldn't he? I'd quite like to speak to him. So, yeah. Anyway, nice distraction there. Thank you, Paul, for that. Let us know your thoughts on team lineups. We've got some views in the chat already. I think we've given our view, so we want to hear from you. Also, get your predictions in as well. That's where we're going to go to next. But we'll do a bit of housekeeping. Do you want to talk to me about Telegram as it relates to the dumpster fire that is Twitter right now, Seb?
There's no threat that you'll wake up and see that Telegram is suddenly going to end because someone's closed all the offices and fired all the staff, etc. The most egotistical person on Telegram is probably yourself with your rules around groups and around certain things going in the wrong chat.
It reminds me, I need to unlock the matchday chat. Oh, Craig's done it. Good on Craig. Thank you.
Excellent, good stuff. So yeah, if you are not enjoying the meltdown that is Twitter as we speak at the moment, then by all means come and join us on Telegram. It's much nicer. It's a place we have great debate. We've set up a World Cup group this week for those of us that want to start following the tournament from Sunday onwards, and the match day chat is where it really comes to life to see everyone's perspectives. We continue the debate going into the next day. We have to move groups because you close one and get very angry with us. But yeah, it's just a complete breath of fresh air. Complete breath of fresh air compared to the mental chaos that is Twitter at the moment. I'm fully expecting Twitter to disappear. I keep expecting I'm going to go on my phone, try and open it up, it's just going to say this does not exist or something.
Yeah, your feed isn't going to refresh, is it? Are you going to do free blue ticks? People can set their profile name to be whatever they want. I'm sure there's an emoji in there, Michael. So if that gets you on there, then fill your boots with blue ticks. How do people get involved in that, Seb?
BlueMondayITFC.co.uk for all the details. That's very true, actually. Yeah, sometimes you do need to be policed, I guess.
I protect you from yourselves. Thank you, Chris. God bless you. He knows the score.
So yeah, Blue Monday ITFC, or check out our socials. I think you tweeted out earlier, didn't you? Given the chaos that's going on Twitter at the moment, you put it on Twitter there. So whilst Twitter is still running, if you go to the Blue Monday social channel feed thing, whatever it's called, there's a link to it there. 2-week free trial. You get a 2-week free trial, and then there's only a $5 a month. And yeah, if you want reasoned, respectful football debate, Ipswich Town debate, come and join us. And I pretty much bet you won't leave because the numbers just remain solid. Everyone, when the free trial ends, people seem to hang around. So come and see us. It was great seeing so many of them last weekend at the live event, and it's a lovely little community.
And we love the Greyhound as well, Seb.
Very much so. I was really, really happy about there last weekend. My first proper pre-match one. The outside bar is open. The food was superb, as it always is. It was really busy, wasn't it? It was really, really rammed. And yeah, obviously we're away this weekend, but it's a 12:30 kickoff, so you can get down there for the afternoon, for the evening. The pods have got the heaters, the warmers in there. So yeah, the perfect place to go pre-match in Ipswich, or if they're away from home, head down there for a nice evening drink or some dinner after Ipswich play.
And we massively appreciate Dan and the team supporting us on the pre-match show. We've got 20% off everything in the Blue Monday merch store as well, ahead of Thanksgiving and Christmas and all those kind of fun things. This is the first of 2 promos we've got before the festive season. I can't bring myself to say the other C word until we're in December. So that if money is moving money around is an issue right now, there will be another one, I think, towards the end of November as well into December. So worth looking out there. But if you are keen to get yourself a Blue Monday podcast hoodie like mine in this inclement weather, I can heartily recommend it. 20% off. Click redeem. There's an offer that will show in light blue at the top of the screen, and get yourself some merch. Why not? Flagship show is back 8 p.m. on Sunday. I think I'm back for that one in the host chair, I think, with Dave and Joe. For that one, we'll confirm details on Sunday. As always, we want to hear from you in the chat, as always, as well. And I believe Benjamin Bloom is doing a live watch along. We get the lunchtime off tomorrow, Seb, but Ben will be doing something on his channel. So head over to Benjamin Bloom's football channel on YouTube and join in with his live debate and discussion as the game happens tomorrow or on Saturday, depending on when you're listening to it. Let's do some predictions, shall we? And make sure you get your predictions in the chat right now. So we can't guarantee this, but if you go to the Greyhound like Chris here, you never know, you might meet one of the 3 Lions. And Mark Detmer was in there. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, Mark Detmer thanked you for all of your hard work on the Blue Monday podcast, didn't he? So I need to wholeheartedly agree with him and concur with that. So and there you go. Didn't disclose any secrets, sadly. Evening to Elliot, better late than ever. Quite right, Elliot. Great to have you with us. If you're watching live on YouTube, you can drag that timeline tracker back and start the show from the beginning, but you'll obviously miss out on all the latest bants and we won't be able to chat to you. So yeah, your choice. You can always watch it back later on. Let's so as always, this is how good a predictor I am, Seb. If you rewind last week's show, you'll hear me say, I think this is your week, Seb. And lo and behold, last week was your week. Congratulations.
Yay. Thanks, mate.
You won by 2 points.
Excellent. I've got you right where I want you then. The comeback begins now.
You've doubled your the number of rounds that you've won in one fell swoop. So congratulations to you. And Mark Beck gave it the big one, didn't he? Gave it the old Billy Big Bollocks. And
he lost to the worst predictor ever. So.
Look at that. 3 outcomes predicted. Mark, what is that? And do you know what? I felt sorry for him so much so. I mean, it could have been laziness on my part forgetting to ask someone else to do it. So we've got Mark back. I didn't get him to do a video. We'll skip through it. But have a look at the predictions for this week, shall we? Let me just give you a score check. It's still 0-0, Portsmouth 0, Derby 0, half time.
Was that 7:45? Was it? Or 8
it was, because we predicted it as well. We predicted it earlier. This is predictions we prepared earlier. That's the wrong one. There's the right one. So we predicted it across the board. Everyone's piggybacking off my 1-alls. Get your own predictions.
It's statistically the most likely score in a football match, isn't it? So
is it though?
Apparently so. So that's why I started doing it, just to try and claw back some ground on you.
No, you saw it as working for me, and you just copied it. That's fine.
Brilliant.
So we're all predicting a draw in that one. We'll come back to Exeter Ipswich because I know people have been putting their scores in for that one. So we'll have a chat. Is there any game there, Seb, where you want to pick out a particular outlier?
We're all pretty much, you and me are in quite a lot of agreement this week, I guess, aren't we? You think that Bolton will go to Fleetwood and score 3 goals and beat them too? I
like to predict out there crazy. Is it kind of local derby-ish? Not really, is
maybe, it? Yeah, no, I'm not sure. Maybe, yeah. What have you got for Wednesday? I missed that one. Have you got a comfortable? Yeah, okay, a relatively comfortable win. 2-2 Port Vale Charlton. Okay, yeah. You think there'll be goals in that one? Okay, yeah, no, pretty much.
It's a pretty unexciting.
It is. There's a lot,
isn't it?
Yeah. When we do this, I look through the fixtures and think, there's a lot of meh here, isn't there? So let's talk about our one because that's the one where most people are.
We successfully predicted Plymouth to drop points last week as well. You got it. That's the one that you got spot on.
The manager of the month curse. The manager that's now signed a new 5-year contract.
Yeah, good luck.
Let's hope that's a Paul Lambert style 5-year contract and things start to go very badly very quickly.
All the best, Stephen. Yeah. But we predicted them to bounce back a bit, and we don't think there's a a blip imminent? It's just, well, the blip was it was the draw against Lincoln, wasn't it?
Lincoln, yeah.
Is it a double blip that becomes an issue?
Oh, but it's Burton, isn't it? I mean, they're yeah. No, I can't see them. I can't see them falling down there. Much as I would obviously absolutely love it, I can't see them falling down there at all.
Sheffield Wednesday are at home and on probably the form team amongst the top 3 right now, aren't they? So
closed it down to 1 point now, aren't they? Behind us, they are worryingly in the rearview mirror. They're getting closer and closer. So we've got to make sure we do the business tomorrow lunchtime to hopefully keep them at arm's length. I'm
an outlier. Predicting a draw tomorrow. You are predicting, along with Mark, a single goal victory. I quite like a 3-2 win prediction. It feels like, as we talked about, their issue at keeping clean sheets and their strength at scoring goals. And it feels like we're very similar in that respect, aren't we?
I think so, yeah. We've gone through this weird phase where we've gone from not letting teams have shots against us to suddenly sort of, having facing 2 or 3 shots a game and conceding 2 or 3 shots, but 2 or 3 goals per game. So we're definitely not quite on it defensively at the moment. I think there'll be goals in this game. We've discussed the kind of threat that they will have from the, the front 2 and the front 3, really, depending on who's going to line up in certain positions. And I just think that we are maybe, sides that when we go away and they kind of look to play and kind of attack us. I don't think it's being me arrogant. I think we will do better in these games than we do the likes of Cheltenham and Morecambe, where it's a relatively kind of low block and frustrating and try and break them down. So I'm pretty confident. I mean, I saw somebody put in the chat earlier, somebody said, hang on guys, this is Exeter. And that is kind of right, isn't it? I know they're doing very well this season, but it's not a game we should really look to be fearing. They've got goals in them, but then so have we. And I'm pretty confident that we'll get back on winning form after a couple of disappointing results in the league. And we need to, in reality, probably, don't we? This is, if we were to draw or lose, then the blip kind of keeps going a little bit longer, and I guess some questions will be asked over certain players' positions in the team and stuff. And if Plymouth do win again, they're going to pull slightly further ahead. And if Wednesday were to win and we draw, we might drop down to 3rd. So we kind of need to get back on form quite quickly. And I think we will. I think we've got goals in us. I think they've got goals in them. But I fancy to come out the right side of a bit of a humdinger, hopefully. Would you wear black out of interest if we're allowed to?
Yeah, that's my blackout shirt behind me, by the way, for those of you who are watching the podcast. I'd go for it. Because
are we allowed to wear it if
do they wear white shorts? I was going to research that. If anyone knows, if they wear white shorts, then I would wear all black. And it's on Sky.
Yeah.
We've Derby, that Derby game has clearly sorted out some weird voodoo anyway, so I suggest we don't muck around with it and play the black kit if it were me. I just think I think these are 2 teams who are not defensively sound. We mentioned Burgess in our chat about us.
He's not ready. Do you think he's ready to? He started against Bracknell, I know, but
play him.
So would you drop Edmondson?
I don't know, but I quite like Burgess to be in the team. I think we are stronger with him in.
Yeah, from a defensive point of view, he was clearing everything, strong in the air. He played himself into some really, really good form. Let's not forget, Edmondson wasn't making the bench for sort of 2 or 3 games in sort of September time, was he? He was out of the picture, and Burgess was the one kind of starting. I do slightly worry about Burgess in a back 4. In a back 3, I haven't really got any issue with it at all because he played there at Accrington. He's comfortable there and he adds balance. I think his left-footed crossfield passes out to the right wing back or the right winger is a useful weapon to use as well. I just do worry slightly about him in a back 4, which I think is what it is these days. I know, obviously we had Russell Osman at the live event discussing Wolfenden and saying sometimes you've just got to clear your lines. I think that's what Burgess gives you. It's the no nonsense kind of defending, which I agree at certain times could be very useful. But
height, presence,
I guess from set pieces. I guess you've got the likes of Diang, who's a bit of a unit. He can add that as well. So maybe you've charmed me, you've convinced me. You've talked me around. That wouldn't be necessarily be a bad shout, to be honest with you, given the physical threat, the set piece threat, the likely crossing threat we're about to face tomorrow. I guess I'd have no real issue if he were to come in, providing he's fit enough, which I guess he should be because he started against Bracknell, didn't he? Not up front though. I don't want to see him come on up front again.
Well, I quite like that. But if all other plans have been exhausted, then stick a big lump up front. Kind of, it's worked in the past, hasn't it?
Berra up under McCarthy or Mowbray up under Burley. Yeah.
Well, you've got our thoughts. Let's go to the chat. Eric's positive 2-0 defeat. There we go. Come on, Eric. Come on. We're gonna make you happy. Come on. We can do better than a 2-0 defeat, surely. I hope. Lee's going for a head 1-1, a heart 2-1. That rhymes. Charlie D, they will definitely score, but 2-1 to us. Chris is agreeing with you.
Yes.
Seb's going for a 3-2. We've got a Skip, 3-1 Town. Backlash, like I think you said, Seb.
It does feel a little bit like we might batter somebody soon.
Well, who
it?
said
It
that
does...
last week? Was it Davis who said that midweek?
Did he? Okay.
I think someone
it
said
does kind of feel like that a little bit. Yeah, you might kind of feel that, at some point somebody hopefully is going to get a bloody good seeing to.
Not that. That's not what you mean. That's not what you mean. Skip, we appreciate you being with us as well. Our thoughts are with you and your family. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate you. Graham keeps Stansfield quiet, should be okay, but then Nombe, then Brown, etc. Then we shall see. Michael, I think we're going to lose 2-1 or win 4-1.
Okay.
One way or the other, Michael. What about a draw? There might be a draw, 0-0. There you go. So there you go, Skip. I think if this is our blip, it's a pretty decent one, as we are still picking up points. We know we'll pick up back. We know we will pick it up back again. It's when we lose 2 or 3 and 5 that we need to be concerned. And we've never really done that under McKenna, have we? So
no, we're still, like you said, like Skip says, we're still drawing, we're still picking up points. It just, Sheffield Wednesday are kind of, the form side, and it's looking like there's going to be 3 that go the whole distance. So I'd be concerned that we don't want to be looking back in May and thinking those draws cost us.
If Dynassy's not fit, says Michael, back 3, Burgess, Edmondson, Wolfie. Eric suggests Bridge might go right. Wolfenden can go right as well, I guess. Burgess in for me, says David, who was also very supportive of the Telegram group. Thank you, David. 1-0, says Andreas. 1-0 to who? 1-0 to who? Chris, last few games, going backwards, we've conceded 1-4, 2-0, 1-1, 0-2. The defending ain't that bad if you ignore the Charlton freak show. Oh, you've done it in... So, yeah, okay, fine. I was trying to figure that out. So, yeah, it's... The
defending isn't that bad.
Individual games.
Yeah, and the concern is that we do tend to kind of, if we concede one, we all kind of get that horrible feeling we're going to concede another one, like at Port Vale, like at Charlton twice. We seem to be lacking a little bit at the back in terms of, is it mental fortitude maybe at the moment? Kind of, they tend to panic a little bit when things start to go against us.
Interesting. I had a chat. Hopefully Russell Osman doesn't. I'm sure he's out there watching right now. Doesn't mind me mentioning this. We talked about, so when we conceded last week, Russell Osman's view was that there wasn't a huge amount of concerned look or interrogation or figuring out why that had happened. And immediately they then came and attacked us again. And Morsey's kind of doing calm down. And I think Russell Osman, and certainly I was of the opinion, like sometimes we should be, I'm not saying get upset and get emotional about conceding, because clearly you want to keep your head. And in that type of situation, there's a whole load of game to be played anyway. So what benefit does it do? But I want our players to hurt conceding goals. It's not a nice feeling, and it didn't really look like anyone was particularly hurt. It's kind of like,
well, Walton was, wasn't he, punching the ground and
punched the ground,
frustrating. But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Maybe it was the shock of it. Maybe it was the shock of the chance. Broome had acres of space in that right side. Maybe people were simply expecting it to be a relatively routine save for Walton, and it was the shock that led to that kind of disbelief and that quietness, maybe. But I know what you mean. Yeah, you want people to hurt from it, and you want your on-field leaders like Morsey, like Walton, to really kind of take charge in those moments.
Yeah. David's going for a 1-9. Sully, I think, is going to be correct. 4-4. I was tempted to go bigger than 2-2. I think 4-4 is not in feet. It'll be 0-0 now, won't it? It'll be bloody 0-0.
Yeah. After all this, you can clip it up saying we guarantee goals, etc.
Christopher, if luck goes with us, it could be a 5-1. If luck goes with us, being the appropriate words, Andreas, of course. Loyal, that's what we want. With our style of play, Marcus says at the back, there's always a chance of giving away a goal.
Yeah, that's a consequence of the way we play. And to be honest, I wouldn't have it any other way. I like seeing that kind of football, and you're going to have to accept that maybe 3-4 times a year it's going to lead to a direct, mistake's going to happen that's going to lead to a goal, but it's just the way we want to play. And it's much better than the alternative, isn't it? Of just hoofing the ball forward, etc.
Exactly right. Well, we will come back next week and we'll see how we got on. We'll see how Mark got on, and whether he makes a return for a third appearance. We will be back in a second. So if you want a shout out before we say goodbye, now is your time to get it in the chat. That is your lot. If you've been with us throughout, or if you've joined us like Elliot a little bit late in the day, we are grateful to you. Do give us a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. I see John on Facebook has done likewise on Facebook. We'd appreciate you. Anything you can do to nudge us up the algorithms, the thumbs up, subscribing, all that jazz. is very much appreciated. We know folk can't all do super chats, and nor would we want people to feel like they have to do that. Even just giving us the thumbs up is really appreciated. Do give us a podcast review as well. If you're listening to us, 5 stars would be even more appreciated as well. And as we mentioned, we'll be back for the flagship show live as always now, Sunday night. We'll talk through Exeter, hopefully positivity there. We will appreciate people joining us for that and joining in the chat. And if you're traveling down, as always, let us know you are traveling down and listening to us. You've got plenty of time to fill, you absolute bloody legends. You sing your hearts out. Hopefully bring us back 3 points as well. And what have we got here in the chat? Charlton still gives me nightmares. We can get over it, Lee.
Yeah,
we'll go through it together. Group therapy.
That won't happen again for another 10 years.
Exactly right. Charlie D, thanks for being with us as always. Always one of the first names on the team sheet when it comes to the chat. So we appreciate you. Lee as well. Skip, thank you. Come on, you Blues, he says. Oh, Michael's got his weather. Yeah, great show. 18 degrees, high 20s. Well, the only thing that's around 18 degrees at the moment is my thermostat. And it's a horror film watching my smart meter right now. Absolutely disgraceful. Yeah, pity ball is out. But we've got a strong enough squad, I think. Seb, I'll let you have the final word. Thank you, as always, for all your hard work. And if anyone's got any last minute shout outs, I'll stick them up on the screen. But that's all from me. Thank you, Seb. I'll hand over to you.
If you're going tomorrow, absolutely fair play to you. We salute all of you. They're getting up at some god-awful hour to make the trip. Hopefully, you'll be rewarded with a lot of goals. The rest of us watching it on telly, hopefully, here's to a good match. Here's to a solid 3 points to end off the month. And as always, come on, you Blues.